Welcome back to another episode of Wrist Check Podcast. The dynamic duo is back together again. Allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Perry.
And I'm Rashawn.
And this is the Wrist Check Podcast. Before we get into what we have tonight, I just want to remind all of you guys out there in TV land to hit the subscribe button, like, share a comment, follow us at Wrist Check Pod. Stay tuned.
Yes.
This evening, we have a friend of the pod, someone who is an avid collector in the truest sense of the word. And this gentleman happens to collect a lot of different things, obviously including watches.
Yes.
And he's come with some serious bangers this evening.
Heat.
Yeah. Allow us to introduce Rome.
Yeah.
What's up, my man?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Glad to be here. Been a fan of the show since day one. My favorite watch show.
I love that.
Made for the people, by the people.
I'm telling you. That's what it is.
Thank you.
100%. So, Rome, since you've seen the show, you know we have a tradition.
Yes, sir.
That tradition is we kick things off with the man who's sitting across from me, Mr. Smith. What do you have on your wrist this evening?
So for this honorary wrist check, I had to bring an oldie but a goodie. This is a piece that Roman hasn't seen in person, but he's seen in a few episodes and a couple of Instagram posts. I am wearing the tried and true JLC Reverso Vantage edition.
Respect.
So this is the Vantage Reverso. It was made for people that had purchased the Aston Martin Vantage V8 in 2007. And so I got it from an original collector, and I told the crazy story of how I got it for an unbelievable price. But it was almost like alchemy when this watch came to me. I had like willed it. I wanted a Reverso. I was like, man, I feel like, I need one of these. And it literally just came to me. What I love about this watch the most is the size. I guess back in that time, it would have been considered a women's watch. But it does remind me of like that original 1931 size. So it fits the wrist perfectly, lug to lug, no overhang. It's not like obnoxiously big. I love that the numerals are actually painted and not applied. So you can see a bit of like the black that comes through the numbers on the dial, which is pretty cool. And then, the special sauce is when you give it a flip and you see Vantage Reverso.
Respect.
Yeah.
Vroom.
Vroom.
It's a
for
heater.
sure.
Love it. Looks great on you, too.
Thank
you. A lot
you.
of people, think of Reversos if you collect them, but I think at face value, people look at it as like a dress watch.
Yeah.
And it has that appeal and effect to it, but it's actually a sports watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll dress it up. Clearly I'm a little more formal. But I'll also dress it down too.
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of piece that you can wear with like t-shirt and jeans. You could throw some loafers, or you could rock some Asics.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And it just works.
For those that don't know, this was originally made, for polo players.
Yeah.
Right? They would wear their watch when they're playing in matches, and they'd either get it hit with the little mallet thing that they use. I don't know what it's actually called, or the actual ball that they're hitting.
Yeah.
And so this was in response to sort of solving that issue, and JLC was able to. They created this watch, and you could flip it over, and it would essentially protect the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another funny thing to double down on JLC's relationship with Aston Martin. Shout out to our friend Romain from Ulysse Nardin. He was telling me that there actually was a JLC Reverso that could actually push the crystal and you can unlock the door to your Aston Martin.
That's crazy.
He definitely said it was faulty.
Yeah.
But I found that to be really, really cool. And I was like, okay, so I got a little piece of innovation.
Respect.
Yeah.
I'll go next. We'll save our guest of honor for last because he's got something special on the wrist. I'm wearing an oldie but goodie. Not that old, still kind of new. I haven't taken it off.
Yes.
I'm wearing the AP Royal Oak. Reference 15510 ST, stainless steel, blue dial.
Yes.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't owned another watch that I can think of in recent memory that I've worn as much as I've worn this. It's been very difficult to wear other watches since I've gotten this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to make of that. It feels nice. I think I'm starting to feel like one of these people that can just own one watch. And so I've actually contemplated the idea of like selling the whole collection and just keeping this.
Mm.
But I know that's crazy. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But the thought had crossed my mind.
Mm.
Yeah. But no, I love it. It's a good one. And if you like podcasts, you guys might have seen my interview or heard it actually with Pare Pare.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Trevor, where we kind of talk about how I acquired this timepiece. So if you want the juicy details, you got to go check out Pare Pare.
I'll tell you what's funny too, because as of late, people are coming to me and be like, yo, so your man Perry got an AP. What's the secret sauce? You guys are giving up everything else.
Follow up after that
I'm not
Rolex
giving up
one.
that one.
Can't give up that one. But we got
But you
friends
can
at
go
high
listen
places.
to Pare Pare and you'll get kind of an idea of what happened and how it transpired. But no secret sauce. I just am what I am.
Yes.
I guess the secret sauce is relationship.
Exactly.
That's
100%.
what it all comes down to.
Secret sauce of life, by the way.
That is the secret sauce of life.
Mm-hmm.
Rome, you've got something incredibly special on the wrist. A company whom is near and dear to me. And this was an exclusive piece made for an exclusive retailer.
Yes.
What do you got on the wrist?
Yeah, 100%. So I got the H. Moser Bulgari edition that came out in 2004. Pioneer Center Seconds with the amber dial. What's interesting about this one, particularly to me, is that Bulgari is known for their Bulgari blue.
Yes.
But for some reason, this collaboration was totally on the opposite side of that, which I love. I think it's a testament to what collaboration efforts between Bulgari and Moser, and of course, shout out to Moser as always. Friend of ours, friend of the pod.
Yep.
So yeah, excited to purchase it last year.
It's a great piece. It's I think when it dropped, I called it. It dropped in like the fall. It was like fall, winter, and I was like, man, that's the perfect summer watch.
Oh, for sure.
So I thought the releasing time was a little weird, but when I saw the piece, I was like, man, this thing is a heater. Yeah. And I see what you did there too. The fit
totally.
Yeah,
you know what?
Yeah.
It was unintentional, and then it became intentional.
So we do this sometimes with certain guests, but what kicks you got on the feet right now? I see these are Jordan 4s.
Man,
they're not normal Jordan 4s.
So these are Jordan 4s. I want to say these were from 2017.
Okay.
It was a collaboration with Levi's. As we all know, Levi's is staple in the jackets and the jeans and whatnot. So these were a collaboration between the two brands. There were 3 colors. It was the white one, there was a black one, and then there was a blue one.
Fire.
So I just decided to bring it out just for you guys.
Hell yeah, I respect that.
It's fire.
Crazy.
Yeah. It works too because the denim kind of works with the canvas jacket, right?
Facts. Yep.
And then you got
break it down.
A little too much. Listen, the strap is green, and
like the khaki with the Prada cargo.
It's subtle, like it's good.
It's very if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right, you guys, let's talk about something every watch collector can relate to. When you're on the hunt for the piece, you slid into DMs, combed through the forums, maybe even hit up a friend of a friend, and still nothing.
And that's where Bezel comes in. It's not just another marketplace. It's where tech meets tradition. Whether you're after a Rolex sub or independent grail, Bezel has tens of thousands of authenticated listings waiting for you. And if the watch isn't listed yet, no worries. Just add the model to your wish list and Bezel hits you with real-time notifications the moment something drops.
And for those of you who don't have time to obsess over listings 24/7, Bezel's got a concierge team that can source the watch for you. They basically take all the stress out of the process so you can just enjoy the watch on your wrist.
Plus for sellers, guarantee sales in just a few days. Thanks to the auction feature, it's a win-win, whether you're buying or selling.
So if you're ready to make your next move in this watch game, hit up Bezel, and trust me, you'll wish you'd done it sooner. So obviously, we mentioned that you are a collector of many things. Very obviously, I think the first thing that, hits most people with the conversation that we're having is you obviously connect sneakers.
Yeah.
And I know you work in sort of like the sneaker reselling business / industry. I'm curious how someone, and I think we all know, but I think it's an interesting start to a conversation to explain for those listening and watching. How does one who's sort of engulfed in sneaker culture find their way to watches?
Man, that's a great question. So number one comes to finances, right?
Yeah. Always.
As you get older, you make a little more money, you start getting into other things that you couldn't afford, when you was younger. So I think I'm a collector at heart, and I just have a passion of acquiring, aka hoarding, right? And it started with sneakers, and then it became like clothing, art, and then watches. And I just fell in love with, like, especially in the watch community, the community of watches. And I think that's something that was like lacking for me in the other things that I collected. So I think, for me, this is like I feel like I belong.
Yeah. That's an interesting point too, because we've talked about that. And I think that that's something that we probably haven't dove very deep in, but there is a difference in terms of how these communities kind of socialize and engage one another. And for some reason, the watch community is just like, it's magnetic.
Yes.
There's something about it where it's like, it's not like, you might see someone in the sneaker community and maybe you know them and it's cool. You run into them, you chop it up. You don't see them for a while.
Yeah.
But in watches, we're going to events like every week, every month.
Yes.
And you're running into the same people. You're forming relationships. You're building friendships. There's nothing like this.
Yeah. I was thinking about the sneaker culture, like, in its parallels to watch collecting as well. They have some similarities, but there's also many differences. And I think of like our friend Danny of District 1.
Sure.
And shout out to Simon as well, where, they will have these long lines of people and like sneaker collectors, and they all know each other, but they're also competing for their sneaker drop. So there's like a little bit of healthy competition, but sometimes it could be a little throwing some balls.
It gets wild out there.
It does. Whereas like when it comes to watches, although, supply and demand kind of like merits the scarcity of product, people are still very excited to see you with the watch that they may get in the future or may not own at all.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what it is? I just feel like especially like in my industry, it's very transactional, more so than relationships. And of course, there are, great relationships amongst other, like, whatever, sellers, vendors, whatnot. And I just think in watches, it's also like everybody has different careers in watches. You know what I mean? Like, they do different things. With the other industry, everybody's doing the same thing. So there's not too much like, things that I could learn from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, I know, what you do, and I learn a little from you. Of course, Perry as well. And then, the people in the watch community do so many
it's funny because
things.
of what you're basically saying is that it really comes down to education. Right. And obviously there are the relationships, but I think that is one of the benefits and one of the differences between these communities is that in the watch community, there's sort of like, as you're collecting, you still have kind of like a thirst to learn. And through engaging other people, you're learning information, you're learning things about history with different timepieces, you're learning about new brands. But I think you're getting to know people in ways that you want to either just simply by their taste and their passions. And it's an environment that kind of opens you up to sort of expressing that, out loud.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, was there a watch that sort of kicked it all off for you?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So, I mean, when I was young, I'm talking about like as a kid, I never really paid attention to watches, but so I grew up in Hong Kong. And, but you would see, like, if you watch a movie, guys have go Rolexes.
Yeah.
You go outside, go Rolexes. Yeah. Never fit it. They wear it loose like a bracelet, whatnot. And you don't know what a Rolex is at that time, but you know it's something shiny.
Yep.
And then that's something shiny.
And you see that crown.
Yeah, exactly. So you associate that with cool. And then those things just, you know, they linger in your mind. And then as you get older, you know, you start like seeing it in movies. And then for me, in my situation, when I came to America, you know, there were like rap videos and movies, and you know, you're still not as educated as you can be now, but you see that like people wearing watches, it's like a status symbol.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a gold shiny thing, and what other things are gold and shiny besides watches and chains and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's true, my man. So you came through with some I mean, speaking of gold.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about this off camera, but you got a couple of special pieces here. There's one in particular that Rashawn had sent me a picture of a few days ago, and he was like, we gotta get this fucking guy on the show.
Yes.
You're gonna love this shit. And you got a Daniel Roth here.
Yes, sir. Yes, I did.
Yeah, and it's you know, not just any Daniel Roth. This is a rose gold skeletonized chronograph with a date. Mm-hmm. This is quite the piece. Daniel Roth is a deep cut. How did you learn about this, and how did you acquire this?
Shoot, I'm still learning about it. You know what it is for me? I've seen it in passing. You know, obviously we all look on the internet at watches hours at a time, but the shape of Daniel Roths are so distinct that you can't, like, even if you like look at it and then you start looking at other things, you can always go back to that shape and say, okay, that's a Daniel Roth. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, for me, I haven't seen anybody in the watch community personally wear it out, you know, at events or, you know, in collections when I watch, like, you know, YouTube or whatnot. Yeah. There's not a lot of Daniel Roths out there. And, you know, I dare to be different. And I think that's part of the reason why, you know, I really like fell in love with the piece. And I ended up trading a watch that I didn't get a lot of, you know, wear on it for this watch.
Yeah. This is an amazing piece. And, you know, it's funny, they're having a resurgence right now. So LVMH has brought the brand back to life, and they launched the subscription Tourbillon model.
Yes.
Which I think they've done an amazing job with, by the way. You know, I got to say, I was very skeptical about the Arnault family really going as deep as they, you know, had set out to go into watches. Mm-hmm. But they're doing an amazing job with all of the brands.
Even LV.
100%. That LV. Spin time complication.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's really great because Daniel Roth is actually still alive. He's in his late 80s, I think, still making watches. He has a brand called John Daniel Nicholas, which is amazing. And it's nice to see that there's sort of like this resurgence of interest amongst collectors that are collecting his stuff. He's sort of getting his flowers right now. But I think the most interesting thing is that, to me at least, it seems it's a lot of the younger guys that are kind of pushing Daniel Roth right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was introduced to the brand through a mutual friend of ours. He's a watch designer. Shout out to Jason Sarkoyan.
Yes.
And Jason Chevrolet.
Yep.
Who is a serious Roth collector. And these guys are like in their late 20s, early 30s. Yep. And I'm like seeing this and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, if you guys, because, you know, Jason's like dripped up in chrome hearts.
Yeah.
Jason, I say Jason and Jason. Sarkoyan's dripped up in like chrome hearts. The other Jason is like dripped up in like purple label.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know, these are some young, stylish guys. Mm-hmm. What's up with this brand? And they kind of gave me the history. And then, because you know what, when I first saw it, it resonated with me. To your point about like the shape and design of the case. Mm-hmm. That double ellipse is amazing. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I see it on his wrist and I'm like, man, I gotta know about this. They gave me sort of the education, the background, and I just dove in.
Yeah.
I dove in. And
that's and that's what I was gonna say. To piggyback on that, what you're starting to see is younger guys stepping into gentleman brands.
Yes.
And you're finding this new enthusiast kind of working around the traditional norms, right? Because those norms, sometimes we aren't always welcomed, right? So you're going to say, you know what, that's fine. You guys can enjoy that over here. We're going to rock with this and we're going to make this our thing.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think the other thing that's interesting, right, given like your background in like the sneaker world and sneaker culture, the thing with sneakers, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, and why the kids, I say the kids, like I'm old. It's crazy.
They are the kids.
They are the kids. Why the kids go crazy with like staying online, you know, the whole idea that I got to get it first. You know, I got to wear it before anyone else wears it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what, a lot of this stuff, unless it's like super exclusive, you're not going to be the only one wearing it. Right? But that's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
In watches, a brand like Daniel Roth, you're not running into anyone else really wearing this.
No.
Yeah.
It's so few and far between that when you do meet someone who owns a Daniel Roth, simpatico.
Yes, for sure.
Instant friends.
Yeah, and you know what it is? That's actually a great point. So I do want to say for in the sneaker industry, it's only dominated by so many brands. So there's only so many models of sneakers that you can wear without seeing another pair on the street.
Yeah,
of the same thing. With watches, there's thousands of brands, and a ton of them are really doing their own niche and really like doing their own thing. So I think that's also what makes it unique in the watch community is that, very seldomly you're going to see a repeat, even at any watch events. I mean, even as common as a Submariner, you're not going to see a lot of repeats.
You're not going to see a lot of repeats. I think the thing about the watch community is everyone kind of shows out in their best, their Sunday best.
Yeah, double wristing.
And so, yeah, exactly. And so people, I think like once you've been in the community long enough, you kind of like try to get in a space where it's like, all right, I'm going to this event. What can I wear that other people might not wear?
Yeah.
What can I wear that might strike up a conversation?
Facts.
That allow me to introduce myself to some new people. And Daniel Roth is one of the perfect examples of that. The other thing that's interesting is as the brand is having this resurgence, I happen to think that a lot of these pieces are going to end up increasing in value again. And, even a piece like this, now this is a Bulgari era piece, which traditionally is not a sought after group within the lifespan of Daniel Roth by Daniel Roth collectors. I think that's going to change. Yeah. And there's a couple of reasons why. Daniel Roth pieces, the stuff like the first gen stuff we were talking about off camera, almost impossible to get. There's not a lot of it out there. And for the most part, you're priced out. The prices are astronomical, right? You're talking about a bunch of watches that were made within a 4.5 year span, really, right? So that really only leaves the Hourglass era and Bulgari. Hourglass era, he was still involved. Great stuff. So they sold the company to Bulgari and people feel a way about that. Bulgari today is highly respected under LVMH for their timepieces. They make amazing watches. You talk about the Octo Finissimo, how many times that watch has been remixed and redone, and it's still a hit. Not only is it a hit design-wise and architecturally, but in terms of actual like watchmaking,
yes,
it's a marvel.
Yes.
It just keeps getting thinner and thinner, and now they're competing with Richard Mille.
Yes,
for the thinnest watch. And I guess shout out to Konstantin Chaikin.
Yes,
he put his hat in the ring.
Yeah,
and so I think a lot of people are going to come back and look at Bulgari again for that reason, especially after the LVMH acquisition, because a piece like this, when you get your hands on it, and I was looking at it under a loop, this is amazing.
Yeah. 100%. Also, too, speaking of condition, this watch is unpolished.
Mint.
Looks like it's barely been worn. This is a new pickup to your collection. I remember when you came to see me, you were like, yo, I just got this. And I was like, okay, cool. So photos, send us to Perry. And I'm like, yeah, this is the one, not the two.
All right, let's be real. Buying watches can be a little stressful. You're navigating through a sea of listings, wondering if that mint condition piece is really mint, hoping you're not about to drop some serious cash on something sketchy.
Into Bezel. These guys built a platform where every watch goes through an authentication process. We're talking old school watchmakers who know their stuff, checking every detail. They even smell the papers. And no, I'm not kidding.
And here's the kicker. Bezel isn't just for seasoned collectors. Whether you're spending $1,000 or $100,000, they've got a high-touch concierge service that will guide you through the entire process. You get a real human interaction, not some chatbot giving you the runaround.
And if you're selling, their auction platform guarantees a sale in days, not months. So whether you're adding or offloading, Bezel makes sure it's smooth sailing.
So next time you're eyeing that dream piece or looking to make room for a new one, check out Bezel. They've taken the hassle out of collecting so you can just enjoy the journey.
I wanna dive into like your early inception, right? Shout out to one of our alum, depending on when this episode comes out. I won't say their name, but Perry will know who I'm talking about when we talk about getting the fever, right?
Oh, sure. The fever. Yeah. They're gonna think you're talking about something else. Let's clarify what fever you're talking about.
Yes, we're talking about the collecting fever.
Okay.
And when you get bit by that bug and you catch that fever, was it someone influential in your life that brought you to collecting, or was it something that, you just found yourself?
Like Perry said, I'm a collector at heart. And, I think my days of collecting sneakers are, a little past me. And I don't know, man. Like, I think just, when I get into something new, I'm really intentional with it. So I'm really passionate. The passion brings so many different, especially in watches, so many different lanes that I could learn from, right? So watchmaking, designs, brands, movements. There's so many things that I could learn from. And I just get in a rabbit hole when I'm into something. And I think that's really what got me into it. Just, obviously with Google and YouTube, like you could find any information you can nowadays. And I think that's what's really like driving this passion for me.
The interesting thing about being a collector, also just in general, no matter where you start, you learn to listen to that inner voice where you're figuring out what it is that you like. And you're learning to sort of quiet the noise that's around you, that's trying to tell you what the thing is. And then you figure out what your thing is. And a choice like that, in addition to some of the other watches you brought through, I think is a clear indication of that. And I think that's what makes this period in watches such an exciting time, because you are a young man. Even though we're the old guys now, we say the kids. Yeah, we're still young guys.
Yes.
Right. And it's in the grand scheme of things, especially within the watch collecting world, we're pups.
Yes.
Back in the 80s, the 1980s, somebody that's 40 is a grandpa.
Yeah, crazy.
Nowadays, we're still young.
We outside.
Yes. We out here.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so I think, how amazing is it for brands to see guys like you collecting like this, right? I think it speaks to the opportunities that exist within the watch industry and what brands could be doing. The Moser is an intentional choice. They're an incredible brand doing things totally differently than the rest of the industry and moving at the beat of their own drum. It makes sense to me that you would have something like that. And I see the through line between a Moser to a Daniel Roth. I'm not sure if a lot of other people see that, but I get it.
Yeah. 100%. I feel that. Yeah. And you're right. You're 100% right. They're to be different, man. Of course there are like the top 5 brands out there, and they're great. They're great brands. But like, how do you stand out? How do you start a conversation? How does somebody start a conversation with you when you're someone new to this world? How do you meet people? And I feel like that's like a gateway to that.
Yeah. It is 100%.
Yeah. Speaking of the top 5 brands, because you brought one of the top 5.
Woo! Talk to him nice. Don't talk to him at all. What do we got here?
This one here is a heater. And I remember when you also came to me and you showed me this watch, and I was like, whoa, I was like blown away with this Jules Audemars Piguet Quantum Time.
Yep.
Like, this is
Equation of time.
Yes. Sorry. Equation of time. This is one that is very synonymous with everything that you've brought, right? When you think of Moser, you think of, Daniel Roth, and then you have this like extremely limited piece, which is specific to Saint-Tropez.
Yeah. Yes,
right.
Yeah.
It's one that obviously you won't see on everyone's wrist.
Right.
Like the Jules collection is one that kind of gets overlooked, even though it was like one of like the widest.
I mean, it was the pinnacle, like what sort of Royal Oak concept is today.
Yes.
Sort of what Jules was.
Yes, for
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? It was like peak watchmaking in AP. And, you know, the equation of time complication is a very serious and complicated complication.
Yes.
Not one that many people have a lot of use for, but it's very cool in the sense that it accounts for the difference in time between the time on a clock
Yes.
and the position of the sun. So because this one is Saint-Tropez, I imagine that it accounts for the sun's position
Right.
Throughout time within Saint-Tropez, which I think is just really cool because how fly is Saint-Tropez?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't tell you. I've never been there. But,
Now you got a reason to go.
you know what's really interesting about that watch is I've seen other cities of that watch. So I spoke to you about this. So there's Moscow. I've seen Moscow. I've seen London. I've seen New York. I might have seen Paris.
Yeah.
And the most interesting to me is there is a Hong Kong one.
Ah.
And so I heard,
Do you know how many cities there were total?
I don't. So I'm just going off based on what I've seen, like doing my research. But what's really interesting to me is, and you know, you guys might like this one. I actually found somebody on Instagram that has that same watch, and apparently you could bring that watch to AP, and they could change the bezel for you to the city, whatever city you want. So the person that I met on Instagram, he had his changed to Boston.
Really? Like recently, they'll still do it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
No way.
So AP, if this is true, hit me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you also have 2 skeletonized watches in the collection. What is it about skeletonized design that sort of does it for you in terms of watch keeping?
I don't know. I still don't know. I think partly it's the mechanics. And partly, this might sound funny, but I feel like I'm getting more bang for my buck with a skeleton. Right? You know, 'cause you get to see it. Yeah, you get to see the insides of it. And you get to see the bones. But I just love a skeleton dial. AP, OpenWorks, one of my, Rogue, one of my favorite watches. Of course, I have this one, and I have a few other ones at home.
I think people would be surprised to learn how much of watch collecting is for the collector.
Yes.
Like I remember we had Nori on the show, and we were talking to him, and Nori was like, yo, sometimes I just chill in my house and wear my watches. Yeah. So I might not even be going anywhere, but I wear it for me. And I think that's like something that really resonated with me, because it's like, I look for an excuse to wear a watch. One of my morning routines is I get up and the first thing I do, especially on the weekends, I take my daughter out, go to the coffee shop.
Yeah.
But like, that's the reason, like grab a watch and put it on and get my day started.
Yeah.
And it's just those like rituals.
Yeah. And that's a very Nori thing to say. Yeah. I could totally see him saying that and doing that.
That's hilarious.
Let me see this thing. Yeah, this is fire, dude. And so, I mean, this puts my AP to shame.
No, come on.
It really does.
Hey, listen, like, you got it straight from the source.
I did. Listen,
you got a story behind that.
I do. The Royal Oak is great. It's a fantastic watch.
Yes.
I love it. Would never hate on it. It's an icon. But I think when people look at Royal Oaks, the design is so powerful, they often forget that like AP really makes watches.
Yes.
Like they really make watches.
Big time.
And I think we take it for granted. You see it in some of the older models. In a piece like this, you get up on it and you look at it and you're like, man, this is absolutely insane, because not only is it an equation of time, it is a perpetual calendar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? This is a very complicated timepiece.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also platinum.
Yes. It's got some weight.
This is no joke.
Yes.
Right? In mint condition. And so I think we often take AP for granted because they make it look so easy. You look at the new perpetual calendars that they just introduced.
Yeah.
Right? And I was skeptical about it initially, I'll admit. And then I went to AP House and I actually got to like play with one and handle it. It's so intuitive. Mm-hmm. It makes owning a perpetual calendar so easy.
Yeah.
It's frightening because you would then, once you use that, you might not want to go back to anything else. Yeah. And I'm someone who kind of likes the ritual of like setting it, but there's something about it that's just like, it's still very manual, but it's also very forward thinking. And it's just like great design in terms of function.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly difficult to achieve.
For sure.
Yeah, I was actually thinking to myself, looking at the watch, one of the days, just admiring it. How many hours it must have took to make a watch like that?
Oh, for sure.
At that time.
Yes.
You know, this is probably what, 2002, 1?
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the box and papers for it, so I don't know exactly. But like, imagine that watch came out today and what that retail price would be.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many man hours on this.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because what I think about is I guess our golden era of like watch design and watchmaking, etc. It being like 90s or late 90s into early 2000s, right? And when I look at the equation of time in the Jules line, right? I think of the breadth of SKUs that they offered there, the same as Rolex and the Cellini and all of the SKUs that they offered, even with Vacheron, for example, right? The patrimony was very, very like widespread and still exists, but you can see they kind of sized down a bit. I'm wondering if that's a bit of like a trend or a play for these brands to kind of like take their most artisanal pieces and get rid of them to kind of go with the ones that are in the highest demand.
I mean, yeah, they're trying to sell watches. I think at the end of the day, it's just like for them, it's just mathematics. It's like, and it's the kind of thing where, and I'm sure you could relate to this even in your business, where it's like you appreciate when someone, a company, brand, designer, etc., has like an amazing eye or an amazing talent, right? But then you realize that like it's almost too good for people to really appreciate.
Yeah.
And so it's never the kind of thing that can go mainstream. You know, it really appeals to like a small group. Mm-hmm. And it does kind of go unappreciated, right? Because it's not in demand. It's not something that is easy to grasp for most. Yeah. But I think that goes back to the point that I was making about being a collector. Like, I think it's even just meeting you for the first time, and this is the first time we've met, right? In person.
Yeah.
Right. And so I could tell this is someone who knows themselves.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You know what you like, you know what you don't like. Mm-hmm. And existing in that space is I mean, that's home. Yes. You know what I'm saying? That's like equilibrium, because you are the master of making your own decisions and choices, and you're not easily influenced by outside forces. That's how you end up with watches like this. That's how you end up with a brand like Moser.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, you hit on a nail, man. I got no words.
Perry does that sometimes.
Yeah. I guess I'm good. Yeah. I don't know. But this is an amazing watch. And then even like just, looking at the case back and the rotor, this rose gold rotor that's got this sort of like rope AP design thing happening. Like when you, again, to your point, like how many hours went into this? Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Yeah. And what's crazy is the price that these are going for today. When something like, if this came out today,
yes,
an equation of time, perpetual calendar, mind you, the Royal Oak perpetual calendar just by itself is $150,000.
Yes.
This would easily be a $200,000 watch.
Yeah.
Easily.
That's why we got to give a shout out to our good friends, Pierre and Jean-Claude Biver and the Biver brand,
who are really selling $500,000 watches. Now, you didn't spend that kind of money on this.
They bring in that kind of stuff back.
But because, the masses don't quite understand this.
Yes.
but I think that more people will, right? And I think they are, because there aren't a lot of these. And fact of the matter is, there aren't a lot of these available online. You can search them, you'll find one or two, but there's still not a lot out there. So for the most part, these are in existing collections, right? Yeah. This is a great piece, my man, and I love the strap.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great combo.
These are like, that's a gem. Like,
it really is.
I can't see myself ever like trading it, getting rid of it.
If anything, just change the city.
Yeah.
If you want to put like
if it's possible, AP.
Yeah.
Hit me up.
What city you put? Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Nice.
That'd be real nice.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
So, moving along, you got another watch, a special piece that apparently just came in today.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Why don't we, let's whip that out. Yes. Let's check this out, because I'm very curious what you got with you.
First time in WCP history.
Yep. Unboxing right on camera.
So we got something very special here, don't we?
Very special. I've been waiting the whole day like a dog looking out the window every 5 seconds today for this. And I wanted to save this for you guys.
Yeah, so this arrived today at about 1 in the afternoon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so definitely secured, right? All the packaging.
Yep.
Got to keep it tight. Nice.
It's just a coffin.
Okay. So if you aren't familiar with this box, we have here a very, very special timepiece. We have I think, third timepiece.
Second timepiece.
Oh, well, the third was a piece unique.
Right. For the auction. Yep.
Yes, for the auction in Geneva, which we actually attended. Okay. But this is the second installment of the Toadano Chen.
Yes, sir.
So please, bust it out of the box.
100%. I've been waiting for this ever since I've seen the blue one. I was in love with this, and couldn't get my hands on it. And when they announced this, I knew I had to get it. And here it is. Wow. This is the first for me as well. So pardon me while I get my excitement on.
What I have to say about, Phil and what he's been able to do with Chen and the amazing things that they've kind of brought to horology. They've kind of brought back that excitement, right? And they have this term of like the geezer watch. So this is kind of like an old man's watch, but it has that young, flavorful soul.
Right. Yeah. The thing I love about this watch is it's just so architectural, right? If you're a lover of architecture, like this is the watch to get, right? Mother of pearl dial, got the sandblast in here. I just think this is it's a work of art.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those pieces that, when you look at it, it does have those traditional nods, but then it's in its own category. Whereas, you can see the inspiration of, the 70s design, but it's now here in, the 2020s,
right? And
it exists like to kind of like grace us all with, that old way, but bringing a new feel. What I also have to say that I enjoy about this watch as well is the new design of the crystal.
Yes.
I know some people, felt the way about it, but I do like they added this kind of like geometrical. I
think that's like one of the best things about the update with that watch, in addition to the mother of pearl dial.
Yes, because it kind of gives this like monochromatic look as well, and the mother of pearl adds that like texture. And of course, we know that mother of pearl, it's almost like a one of one, right? Not every cut is going to be the same, but this one here has some cool striations, and then as you play with it in the light, you get to see more texture and layers. And I have to say I enjoy looking at it from this side view because you kind of get this effect on the crystal, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let me see this thing. So I actually bought 2 of these last year. The first one for friends.
Okay.
They really wanted to get it, so Mike Nuvo actually helped me out to get these. I know that was when everyone went crazy for it. I think they sold out in a couple of hours, and I think this one sold out even quicker. Right?
8 minutes.
Crazy.
8 minutes.
8
Yeah,
minutes.
I mean, they really got something good going. Shout out to the guys over at Toadano and Chen. What I do love, I think it's very easy for a lot of people to kind of, and I think some people did initially, they kind of wrote it off as like, oh, King Midas or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that don't know, this watch is actually inspired by what was one of my favorite museums.
Yes.
And that's the Whitney, when it was in the Brewer building. There's a window on that building. It's a brutalist building. And there's a window on that building, which looks almost exactly like the case of this watch. So going back to some of the earlier talk that we had in talking about intentionality and design, I have to appreciate the fact that they put that kind of like little Easter egg in there and drew some inspiration from this building here in New York City. This is a beautiful timepiece. I think it's too big for my wrist.
Until you put it on. I felt the same. No, I felt the same. When I put it on, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel that. No.
This is crazy, man. This is fire. And so you just got this today. This is wild.
I did. And you know what? One thing I was thinking is, with a watch like that, you could put that next to the Roth and the equation of time, and it fits right in.
It makes sense.
It makes sense for me as a collector.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. What do your friends and family think about this hobby?
My wife, she supports me. Whatever I have a passion in, she supports me.
Shout out to her.
Yeah,
Yes,
shout out to her. My family, I don't tell them about it.
Okay. It's probably best.
Yeah.
Do you ever get another watch? You got another one?
For my wife.
Yeah.
For my wife. Yeah.
Wives will do that.
It's more like, I haven't seen this one. When'd you get it? And it's just like, I've had it for a while, babe.
You got to do the meme. They gave it to me.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a dope piece. They're having a lot of success, and I think one of the main things I love about their story, again, it goes back to what we were talking about based on relationships. And Phil Taladano is someone who's really intertwined with the watch community, knows everybody, and it's very difficult to start a watch brand these days. It's very difficult to sell watches, but when you do something that is sort of, I think with anything that's authentic to you, you know what I'm saying? And he, like you said, to your point, the whole geezer watch thing,
yes.
He became known for this, and they really played this up and turned it into a thing. And, he does collect King Midases, and he has Daniel Roths. He has a very eclectic, design forward collection. What I've seen him share on the internet. We haven't had him on the show yet, but this is something that makes total sense for him in his space. And at the same time, I think it's inspirational for people who are thinking about maybe getting into that space. But there's a formula, there is a method, right? And I think it starts with identifying who you are and what place you have in this community, and kind of sticking to that and being your authentic self, because the goal is not to compete with Rolex or AP. That's not why anyone is buying this. They're not buying this to flex, right? You're buying it because you appreciate the design, but you also know that the people that are tied to it are authentic.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, to that point, man, the cream rises to the top. So the passion comes out in the product.
Yeah.
And when you look at the product, you can see the passion. So of course there are a million micro brands out there. There's a million independents out there. And some of them look like something else.
Yep.
So with a watch like this one, I think it's called a B1.2.
Okay.
I might be butchering it. But with a watch like that, it looks nothing. I mean, people say King minus, but if you put two of them side by side, you can see dramatic differences.
Yeah.
And this is a lefty.
Yes. And you could wear it upside down to suit your liking. So
yeah. I like that too, that you can kind of wear whichever way you want the crown and position.
If you want to wear it on your right hand. A lot of people are after this.
Yeah. It's
Hot off
not
the
going on
presses.
eBay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this was
going on my
this
wrist.
limited?
You know what? I know how many they made.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
Okay, because they didn't number this one.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I think it was intentional. I think for brand equity, it's a great strategy. I mean, they sold out in 8 minutes worldwide.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I think we're past the point of like assigning an exact number to a watch. Like, if it's an addition of 100, 200, leave it as is. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Right? This is dope, my man.
Thank you.
I want to ask you. You know, you got some great pieces. What are you after next?
Oh, I was hoping you asked this. Man, I've been in the rabbit hole of obviously independence, and of course, like, you know, I'm always going to support the guys at Moser and whatever they do. But I have there's 3 brands that I'm really looking like forward to. Hopefully one day.
Okay.
Maybe sometime far deep into the future, hopefully. But one of them, of course, is FP Jones.
Sure. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Simone Brett.
Yes.
And Burnaround.
Burnaround.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Burnaround Mirage.
Yes.
One of
It's
the
a fire
greatest
watch.
watches I've ever seen in my life. So those are the 3.
Yes.
Those are
3 good ones.
I'm probably gonna have a lot of other pieces before I even get that. But
Yeah. Funny enough, if you like what Burnaround is doing, just wait for what's coming next.
It actually leaked.
It leaked?
Yeah, it leaked.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the calendar watch that he's doing.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it leaked. But I think, I mean, he was fine with showing it off.
Yeah, he was.
So they didn't show off a finished product, right? I don't think they have it finished yet, but they did show off like some of the CAD renderings.
Yeah.
So people have seen it.
Yes.
I think he's onto something. What I love about him, because we met him in Geneva, we spent some time with him.
Nice.
And I like the way his mind works.
Yeah.
You know, and I like how he moves in a really like fearless kind of way, you know, and I think that's something that a lot of like really great like watchmakers or people that own watch brands kind of think. You kind of have to think that way, right? Because what other edge do you have? And so with this particular piece, similar to the Mirage, he had to, you know, redesign an entire movement to get it to work in a particular fashion. And, you know, we have our shoot that we did in Geneva, which will be coming out soon. So people will get to see him kind of explain and walk us through it as we spent time with him. But it was I was very, very impressed.
Yeah.
Not only is it's a completely different design from the Mirage.
Okay. Have you seen the Mirage in person?
We saw the Mirage in person.
I haven't seen it yet.
And it looks even better in person. I mean, I was someone, admittedly, that was very skeptical about this timepiece initially. And seeing it in person, it kind of resolved all of that, which is oftentimes the case, right? Like, it's really easy to see photos of something like, when you see it in person, you realize, okay, this hits differently. And I have to say, the most impressive thing was really the movement. The movement is beautiful. And then him walking us through how he designed it and the thoughtfulness that went into it. And there's a lot of little things, right? Like even like the manner in which he placed the hands on the watch is reversed, right? And so that in itself is a complication that he had to get worked out. And to hear his story, I mean, it's amazing. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
That's coming out. Everyone will see it, but an amazing watch. You mentioned FP Journe. FP Journe makes a lot of watches.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Man, any of them, honestly.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that just because like
He's got a lot of hits.
He's got a lot. I mean, I just saw one. Was it the Jumping Seconds? It's called. Might be butchering.
The Elegante.
No, it's called
The Vagabond.
Vagabond.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, that's
It's in like the
incredible
Elegante
piece.
case.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like a jump. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
I'm probably never gonna get that watch, but like just anything he does, man. Like I said, cream rises to the top, and the passion shows in the product.
So the Jumping Seconds, I want to take a second to explain what it is because it is very impressive. So that watch is quartz, just like the rest of them.
Yes.
Still a crazy watch because the lifespan on these watches are also insane. Like I think the Elegante in itself has like a 10-year power reserve, and then if it's not used, if it's sitting just standby, it can be on standby for like 18 years.
Sheesh.
Nuts.
So now the running seconds, the jumping seconds, a jump hour, every time, the minutes elapse 60 minutes, the hour changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So imagine you have a seconds counter that's just flipping every second.
Just how active the watch is. And it's just like you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
And then you set it down, and after a while, everything stops because it conserves power.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up, and it goes, and it gets right back.
I didn't know that part.
Crazy.
Yes.
Man.
Insane watch.
Yeah. The guy's a man,
He is.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yeah. The three I named, Simone Brett, Baron, and
I
Effie
think
Jorn.
that was interesting about that is these are three different types of individuals, right?
Yeah.
Like Jorn is a watchmaker.
Yeah.
He makes movements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also designs watches. Like that's his jam, and he's perfected it. Berneron is not a watchmaker in the sense of he's not putting the movements together himself, but in the traditional sense of watchmaking, like sourcing a community together to accomplish a project.
Yeah.
And Simone Brett is an engineer.
Yeah.
So it's just thinking about watchmaking in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And somehow these three gentlemen have managed to really tap into the spirit, I think, of new watch collectors by offering something that are, completely different from one another, but also, product that stands out from the rest of the industry, which I think is difficult to do. And I think going back to how you're collecting, that's kind of what I see that's a through line in your collecting. None of these watches are the same.
Yeah.
But they all have a very similar spirit, right? Like Moser has their own design language. Daniel Roth, Set in Stone, this AP Jules piece, again. And then even with the Toadano Chen, they're getting at something, right? And that spirit, I think, speaks to someone like yourself who is a consummate collector, right? Someone who is trying to fit a bunch of different things that they like into their life in a cohesive way that, if you ask anyone else, probably don't belong together.
No.
Man, back to those three. I was thinking, I was like, that's Picasso, Basquiat, and George Condo. You know what I mean? Like they make art pieces. That's incredible pieces. Actually, I've never seen a Berneron in person, and neither has Simone Brett. So, but I mean, even in photos, on the internet,
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
How many watches do you have now?
Actually, not a lot. Not as much as you might think. I want to say I'm probably at around 22, 23 now. But again, everything's intentional.
So I'm laughing because I always try to think through the lens of people who are not familiar with this community. 20 watches is not a lot to us. To these people, this is a different.
It's like sneakers. You get hundreds of pairs. It's like true. People can't fathom that.
Which is funny because in our world, it's not uncommon to hear someone owning like 300 pairs of sneakers. It's like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is kind of absurd.
Yeah.
I think we do have time for one more watch. You got another watch here in this Goyard case. And this is something that I think everyone recognizes. It's a great timepiece. We recently did an episode about how to acquire them. People felt the way about that, but
this is a goodie. We have here the presidential Rolex 36 millimeter.
That's the way it should be.
Yes. Agreed.
On a green strap to match the stunning sunburst green dial.
Yeah.
Woo!
Stock strap, by the way.
Yes. This is a banger. And, to Perry's point, I feel like a date should be worn on the strap. Of course, the iconic.
Well, I don't know if I said quite that.
Well, okay. Well, it looks great on the strap.
It does look great on the strap.
Of course, we know of like the iconic president bracelet, and that's usually, people's, love affair when it comes to Rolex, especially the Jubilee bracelet as well. But like, there's something about the calm elegance of putting it on the strap. And it kind of just being very intentional and like, if you know,
I saw what you did right there. Calm elegance. That was nice. That was very nice.
But, you're able to be able to wear this watch for you and only you. Yeah. Whereas there are other watches where you can, you can definitely scream like I'm wearing a watch.
Yep.
This definitely doesn't do that.
100%.
I think the thing that so we were talking off camera about kind of like how things are like really good, but then you can start to view things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the President bracelet is iconic. It's an incredible bracelet. You love it because of what it represents. And, you know, it's one of the distinguishing attributes of a day that separates it apart from a day just outside of the dial layout.
Mm-hmm.
You know it when you see it. That bracelet belongs to that watch. But there's also something about wearing a date on a strap. And that's why I like how you described it, calm elegance, because it does kind of tone it down a little bit and it makes it even more sophisticated, right? A date on a bracelet is an incredible experience, mm-hmm. especially at a 36 millimeter. Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic watch. Mm-hmm. On a strap, I used to think it felt like it was missing something. I don't really feel that way anymore. I find myself looking at dates more on straps, whether it's a factory strap or even if it's aftermarket. It gives it a different spirit. It feels more, I guess, calm elegance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say elevated.
Yeah.
Elevated, I think is the wrong word, but there is something that is kind of soothing about it. Brings it down a little bit, makes it a little more
gentleman.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then to take it and pair it with like, because you could wear that with like what you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
And it goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it looks great.
Yeah.
Fits nice. You know, this is a great watch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in the Rolex line that speaks to you? Because this is a very particular piece. Like, I don't know how many people even realize that Rolex today offers dates on straps.
Yeah.
It's not something you really see that often amongst Rolex collectors.
Yeah. I think that's a 2013. They kind of stopped doing that. I guess because the bracelet is, you know, so iconic, and you know, they could charge a premium on that as well. I also have a Cellini moon face, which they discontinued. One of my favorite. Yeah,
that's a great
another
piece.
leather strap.
Yeah,
one of my favorite pieces. And then I really love that 1908 with the white dial. I tell Rashawn all the time.
Have you seen it on the bracelet?
Well, I haven't seen it in person yet, but yes, I've seen like
that's one
photos.
that might have to be experienced on a bracelet because that new bracelet is sick.
Yeah. I do need to see that in person. Yeah,
I got to make another comment because one of the things that I noticed during this whole time together, this is where we're connected because you said all of these.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. You know,
every watch here is set to the exact time and date.
Very intentional with what I do. Very intentional with what I do. You know,
and
except for the Taladano, which came
exactly. Just opened it. But I find there's like two kinds of collectors. There's a lot of collectors who get to the point where they're just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then there are some of us that are very much like, I'm not leaving the house.
Yeah.
Unless this thing is fucking set.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're in that bucket with me.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah.
So we're amongst good company. My man, Rome, this has been a pleasure. I want to say thank you for joining us this evening.
Shoot, I had a blast.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yes.
I think you're an amazing collector. You brought a lot of hits. This is one of the most exciting collections I've seen recently. We've seen some really good ones recently.
We've seen some good ones.
This is really good too. This is up there. I think it's just getting better and better. But yeah, this is amazing. I mean, everything from the Roth to the AP Jules, like you got an amazing collection. I can't wait to, we got to set something up, maybe visit your spot and see the artwork and the sneakers and go there.
Yeah. 100%.
But we'll set that up for another day.
Yeah.
But this has been another episode of Wrist Check Podcast. You guys know where to find us, wristcheckpod.com, superniche.com, you know, maybe on television.
Woo!
Very soon.
I was waiting for it.
But I won't break the news yet. We'll find a time to break it, and maybe we won't even use this whole thing because this will end up on there too. I don't know. So we'll see. But we'll see you in a week. Deuces.
Peace.